You have probably been told what to eat your entire life. Low fat, high protein, more vegetables, less sugar, cut the carbs, add the carbs back. Every decade produces a new theory and a new set of rules, and somehow the rules keep changing. But there is a version of this question that predates nutritional science by 200,000 years. What did your body actually evolve to eat? Not what modern food culture decided, not what the latest study recommends. What did the human digestive system, the human metabolism, the human gut microbiome spend hundreds of thousands of years adapting to? The answer is more complicated than any diet book will tell you, and it starts with a fact that should make every food tribe uncomfortable. Your ancestors ate everything. Not everything indiscriminately, but with a flexibility that modern dietary thinking consistently underestimates. Humans are obligate omnivores in the truest sense. The archaeological and anthropological record shows hunter-gatherer populations thriving on wildly different diets, depending entirely on what their environment provided. Groups in the Arctic consumed diets that were 90% animal fat and protein, with almost no plant foods available for large portions of the year. Groups near the equator lived on fruit, tubers, nuts, and insects, with occasional meat. Coastal populations built their nutrition around fish, shellfish, and marine mammals. None of these populations showed evidence of metabolic disease. None of them were following a rule. They were following their environment. Richard Wrangham, a primatologist and biological anthropologist at Harvard University, has argued for decades that the single most transformative event in human dietary history was not agriculture, not animal domestication, not even the development of tools. It was cooking. His hypothesis, laid out in his book, Catching Fire, is that the control of fire and the cooking of food was the pivotal adaptation that allowed the human brain to grow to its current size. Cooking breaks down plant cell walls and denatures proteins in ways that make food dramatically more digestible. A cooked calorie delivers significantly more usable energy to the body than a raw calorie of the same food. When early humans began cooking, they were effectively upgrading the efficiency of every meal. And the body responded, over generations, by redirecting that freed up energy toward the brain. The evidence for this is embedded in your own anatomy. Your gut is significantly shorter than that of other great apes. A chimpanzee has a much larger digestive tract relative to body size because it needs the processing power to extract nutrition from raw food. Your digestive system was built for pre-processed food, for cooked food. The smaller gut frees up metabolic energy. That energy went to the brain. You are, in a very literal anatomical sense, a creature shaped by fire. But what was actually going into that fire? The plant side of the ancient diet is often underestimated, partly because plant remains preserve poorly in the archaeological record compared to bones and stone tools. But what does survive tells a rich story. Amanda Henry, a paleoanthropologist at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology, has analyzed the dental calculus, the hardened plaque on ancient teeth, of Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens. What she found embedded in those ancient teeth was remarkable. Cooked plant starch granules, evidence of grains, legumes, and root vegetables being consumed and cooked tens of thousands of years before agriculture existed. The ancient diet was not the all-meat carnivore fantasy that some modern interpretations suggest. Plants were central, and they were being processed and cooked with considerable sophistication. Tubers deserve special attention in this story. Underground storage organs like wild yams, wild potatoes, and various root vegetables were likely a dietary staple for much of human prehistory. They are calorie-dense, resistant to seasonal scarcity, and available year-round in many environments. Primatologist and anthropologist Richard Lee, studying the Kumsan people of the Kalahari, one of the most studied hunter-gatherer populations on Earth, found that plant foods, particularly the mongongo nut and various tubers, contributed the majority of calories in their diet, despite the Kung being skilled and active hunters. Meat was prized and celebrated when obtained, but the metabolic foundation of daily life was plant-based. And yet the animal side of the ancient diet was equally critical, and for reasons that go beyond protein. Fat was the prize. Not lean muscle meat, but fat. Brain tissue, bone marrow, organ meats, the fatty parts that modern squeamishness tends to discard. Bone marrow extraction is one of the oldest documented human behaviors, with evidence going back over 3 million years, predating even the genus Homo. The tools that hominins developed earliest were not spear points for hunting, but hammerstones for cracking open bones to access the marrow inside. Fat provided dense calories, fat-soluble vitamins including vitamins A, D, E, and K, and the essential fatty acids that the brain requires to function and develop. The lean protein obsession of modern nutrition would have been incomprehensible to your ancestors. They wanted the fat. The micronutrient profile of the ancient diet was also dramatically different from what most people consume today. Wild plants contain significantly higher concentrations of phytonutrients, antioxidants, and fiber than their domesticated agricultural descendants. Thousands of years of selective breeding for palatability and yield have quietly stripped the nutritional density out of the food supply. A wild strawberry contains several times more antioxidants than a modern supermarket strawberry. Wild game is leaner and contains different fatty acid ratios than grain-fed domestic animals. The food that your ancestors ate and the food that bears the same name today are related in shape but not in nutritional substance. Christina Warinner, an archaeogeneticist at Harvard University who specializes in ancient diet reconstruction, has used ancient DNA and dental plaque analysis to build detailed pictures of what specific ancient populations were eating. Her work consistently shows a diet of extraordinary diversity. Not 3 meals of macronutrient-balanced plates, but a rotating cast of dozens of different plant species, multiple animal sources, seasonal variation, and almost no dietary repetition from day to day. The gut microbiome, which modern research has revealed as central to metabolic and immune health, thrives on exactly this kind of diversity. The modern gut, eating the same narrow range of processed foods day after day, is running a microbiome that has lost between 1/3 and 1/2 of the species diversity present in hunter-gatherer populations studied today. What does all of this mean for how you eat now? It does not mean you should attempt to replicate a Paleolithic diet in a modern context, because you cannot. The foods do not exist in the same form. The activity levels that contextualize that diet do not exist in the same form. The seasonal variation and forced dietary diversity do not exist in the same form. What it means is something more useful. Dietary flexibility is your biological inheritance. A narrow, rigid, single food group diet runs against the grain of what your body was built for. Diversity is not a luxury. It is the operating condition your gut was designed to work within. It also means that the processing of food is ancient and legitimate. Cooking is not a corruption of natural eating. It is the oldest and most fundamental human food technology. Your body expects cooked food. Your digestive system was built around it. The raw food movement, whatever its merits, is working against 2 million years of biological expectation. And it means that food was never just fuel. In every hunter-gatherer society studied, food gathering was social, seasonal, and embedded in the total ecology of daily life. The sharing of food was one of the primary mechanisms of social bonding. The feast after a successful hunt was not just caloric. It was political, relational, and deeply meaningful. You did not eat alone. You ate together. The social context of eating is as ancient as the eating itself, and stripping it out, eating alone in front of a screen, treating food as a transaction rather than a connection, is one of the quieter life has drifted from the conditions that shaped you. You have probably been told what to eat your entire life. The rules keep changing because they were never really rules. They were guesses made in a context that forgot to ask the most important question. What did the body that is reading this actually evolve to eat? The answer is varied, seasonal, social, cooked, and deeply flexible. It always was.